Hey, Dave, of course, a lot of big decisions ahead for you with the Stanley Cup qualifiers in just 2 weeks' time. But is the biggest decision in your mind right now the one between the pipes, knowing that you have two viable options?
Well, that's certainly a decision that is, you're picking from two guys. Forwards, you got 15 guys. D, you got 10 guys, or so you got two guys. But we have a great deal of confidence in both guys. As camp goes on here, we'll continue to kind of monitor where they're each at. They both look really good so far. But as we go on, we'll continue to monitor things, talk to Schwartzy, talk to the players, and we'll see where it goes. But I envision both guys getting an opportunity to play.
Next question, Terry Jones. Terry, as soon as your microphone is active, you can go ahead. Terry, you'll need to activate your microphone to ask your question. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay. Coach, you're about the halfway mark of this training camp. Can you compare it to a normal training camp, or does it feel a little bit more like an Olympic break or an all-star break, extended week off camp or something like that? And are there any observations and statements you can make about the way this team is approaching it and going forward?
Well, it does feel a little bit different than a regular training camp. Regular training camp, it just seems like, you usually got between 50 and 60 players. You're trying to teach new stuff. Basically, what we're looking at is review of a lot of our structure of how we play. That's part of it. You got to get players up and going full speed again, and then you're preparing for a playoff series against an opponent. So it's there's a little different focus than a normal training camp. That being said, the thing that's similar about a training camp is you're trying to get everybody up and running as quick as you can. Just a comment about our group. Our group has come in. They look like a real motivated group. I like what our leadership has done in the room. We seem to be very focused on making sure that we're preparing the right way. So halfway point of the camp, I would say so far so good. We've still got some things that we want to cover, some things that we want to, I think there's still some added conditioning that we can get into, but we've been pleased so far, but only halfway there.
Next question, Daniel Nugent-Bowman. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hi, Dave. When you coached the Coyotes, you had some pretty epic battles with Chicago, and specifically, obviously, going back to the 2012 and that playoff series. I know that was a while back now, but is there anything you can kind of glean from that, and specifically how to kind of approach Patrick Kane and kind of shut him down?
Well, you always got to look at the other team, and I would say less from that playoff series, or when I coached there a long time ago, more to you're looking what that team is doing this year, so it's more recent history, and you got their top players that, just like any team you'd prepare for, you're talking about their strengths, their weaknesses, what they're looking at. So just the history and experience throughout the season, or for a few years now with Chicago, you use some of those things, but ultimately right now we're really trying to concentrate on what we're doing. And as we wind down here, we'll start to dig into more of Chicago. But, you always have those things in the back of your mind where you're the history, that's knowledge. You learn about things, you learn what worked and what didn't work. So you always go back and think about some of those things.
Next question, Reed Wilkins. Reed, as soon as your microphone's active, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Hi, Dave. I know you've been asked about Broberg earlier in the week as well, but he's made several head-turning plays today during the scrimmage. Appears to be pretty confident, and in my mind, you wouldn't know, how young he is if you see how he's performing. Like, is that fair? Just a confident, very polished player so far this week?
Yeah, he's looked very good. He hasn't looked out of place at all, and physically he's he's young in age, but physically he's mature. He's a thick guy. He's a strong player. His skating is excellent. So, you know, you watch him in these scrimmage. He certainly hasn't. Um, you can't walk away from a scrimmage saying that he doesn't fit. If anything, you walk away from the scrimmage going, he does fit. So, so it's great to see a young player come in. Really, his first opportunity to be around NHL players, and he's acquitting himself very well. So, really good young man. He's like a sponge. He's trying to learn every day, and it's great to see him go out there and play well and fit in with our group.
Next question, Jim Matheson. Jim, as soon as your microphone's active, you can ask your question. Try that again. We'll wait one more second. If not, okay, let's try, we'll try Vicky Hall. Vicky, go ahead as soon as your microphone's active. Jim, okay, Jim's there now. Go ahead, Jim.
Dave, a couple of things. You say you're more concerned about your own team, but are you paying any attention to the fact that Chicago does not have their starting goaltender right now and hasn't had him for camp? You can't lie and say you're not paying attention to that. And the other question I have for you is, Broberg looks like he can play both sides. He's a left shot, and we always just assumed he was a left side defenseman, but you've had him over on the right side a lot in the scrimmages. What do you think?
Well, first of all, yes, you know, you're always monitoring what's going on in Chicago. So I know what's going on, but you never know what's going on until they get here and you get playing them. So you understand, and that's just no different than anybody else around the league. You're finding out what teams are doing, but you're right. I would be lying if I told you I didn't kind of follow what Chicago's doing. So you're right, Jim. I'm not lying. The second part of it, Broberg, he's looked comfortable on both sides. I know he played quite a bit on the right last year over in Sweden, so he has looked comfortable on both sides, which is that's a real good asset for a young player. He looks to me like a player right now that you could put him on left D, right wing, left wing, center, probably not goalie, and he'd be more than willing to try anything. So he's a young player that's trying to come in and make an impression, and he's certainly doing that.
Next question for Vicky Hall. Vicky, as soon as your microphone's active, you can ask your question.
Hi, Dave. How refreshing is it to be answering questions about goalies and rookies and scrimmages as opposed to just COVID and all the stuff we've been dealing with for months?
Yeah, it's very refreshing. It's very refreshing to get back to hockey, you know, and talking to players and talking to players about structure of the game or plays that get made or special teams, or you know, those things are at the forefront right now. And I think as every day goes by, you get used to the new protocols, you get used to the kind of the new way of life here, which everybody gets more and more comfortable with that you're just dealing with the circumstances, but ultimately your focus goes on to playing and getting ready for that game one. So it's been very good. Like I say, our players' attitudes have been excellent. You know, our coaching staff just getting back together. I mean, everything that is involved with, you know, a team and an organization getting ready. Those are the things that when you've been in the game a long time, those are the things you really miss. So that camaraderie and getting back together and getting focused together is that's an enjoyment for everybody coming back.
Next question, Terry Jones. Terry, as soon as your microphone's active, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, Tip, with the situation you're dealing with, that's one word, opportunity. I get the sense there's real opportunity here for your group. Do you feel they have that sense, and are they trying to sell it to each other and that sort of thing?
You know what, Terry? I think, you know, everybody is talking about, first of all, it was the opportunity to come back and restart the season. But now once you look at it, you're down to 24 teams. Every team has an opportunity, and it's a unique opportunity. It's not as if, you know, you got teams that are you feel they just distance themselves from everybody. You've got teams with home ice advantage. It's the opportunity is a lot more equal than it would normally be going into a playoff. So I think a lot of teams feel that way. I know we feel that way. There's an opportunity in front of us. Can we seize that opportunity and run with it? And I'm sure there's a lot of other teams saying that, but that's certainly one of the things that we're talking about with our group.
Two more questions we'll take here. One from Daniel Nugent-Bowman. Daniel, as soon as your microphone is active, go ahead.
Dave, you're going to be facing a coach on the other end who's going into his first playoff series as a young coach. Can you take me back maybe to 2003 and your first coaching experience in the playoffs with the Dallas Stars? What that was like? How did you prepare? Were you pretty nervous going into that for the first time?
I think once you get to the NHL and you're a coach there, you've gone through trials and tribulations all over. So there's not one coach in the NHL that I think everybody is nervous going in, whether it's your first year or your 30th year, because you're nervous that your team is prepared and you want to make sure you win. So everybody in this league is going to be prepared. Everybody's going to do a good job. So it's there's been a lot of young coaches that have done well in this league, and there's a lot of veteran coaches who do well in this league and in the playoffs. So I don't think that's an advantage or disadvantage. I remember going into my first playoff series, I was excited. I felt like our team was prepared and we were excited to play. So that's how you got to feel going in the playoffs. It's a unique time, especially, just as we just talked about, the opportunity in front of us with this unique playoff format. It's going to be fun. It'll be exciting to get up and going, and coaching right throughout of it is going to be exciting for the coaches just like the players.
And a final question from Jim Matheson. Jim, as soon as your microphone is active, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Dave, Nygaard was saying this year he's had a tough time because he's been hurt several times of getting traction, with the hand, and then he was hurt earlier in the year too. Have you noticed that as a coach? You would like to have had him, playing every game, but he would get hurt and then he'd have to work his way back, and then he had trouble, getting a regular line.
Yeah, you know what? I've talked to him about this, and there was a couple of things, Jim. One, first of all, he's coming as a first time over to North America or first time playing pro over North America, and just getting acclimated, trying to get up to speed to the league and everything. So that was a challenge. And then he had a couple of injuries, and the second one was a real, it's a bad injury. He's going to miss extended period of time with surgery on his hand. So he just didn't feel like he had, as you say, the traction to get going. But talked to him yesterday a little bit. His hand feels very good. He feels way more comfortable coming into the situation. It's like his second year now. So he's really comfortable coming in. He understands how we want to play, understands, the day-to-day routine that comes within it, is friendly with everybody. And so his concentration right now is just getting his game up and running to the best level he can. And he's looked pretty good in camp so far. Says the hand is good. It's not sore at all. He still wants to work on getting it back up to, to speed where he feels comfortable with it and feels comfortable handling the puck and stuff like that. But you'd like to see him get an extended period of time and play well, because I think he's a good player in the NHL. Speed, tenacity, the ability to be on pucks is his strength, and we showed glimpse of it. He showed glimpse of it this year when he got up and going. But like you say, there was too many times when he had to take a step back because of injury.